Hey everybody, Nicole Bowman here, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist, and welcome to tonight's live. Um, I'm a little tired, but I wanted to come on for a live tonight because of everything that is happening in the United States of America. So I'm going to wait for a little bit, and I'm going to wait for people to get into the room. And then I'll just share some things that I'm feeling psychically. We may also do some readings by donation tonight. And I also may take some general questions, but we're going to play it by ear. I'm going to do as I'm led, however spirit is guiding me, that's the direction we're going to move in. But we're going to wait for a second. But I hope that everybody has been having a good week so far. Hi, Forgiven. Welcome. Um, thank you for being here. So I'm going to wait for people to kind of get into the room. And then as people come into the room, I'll start sharing what's coming through. So for those of you who are new to me, my name is Nicole Bowman. I'm a psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. I've been reading professionally for well over a decade. Um, I also write music and I write books, and everything that I do is to help people heal, evolve, and grow. So I don't do lives all the time on this app. But when I do lives, it's typically because there's something that I need to share with the collective that I want you all to know. And then also it's an opportunity to open up the room, to open up the dialogue for anything that you would like to share as well. So I want to say hello to everybody who is coming into the room. And I think we have enough people, so I think that we can start now. So for those of you in the United States of America, when I connect and tap into it psychically, I feel like people are kind of in two camps. There are people that have decided to stay in the United States and build their life there, and there are people who have decided to leave. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what may be your best course of action in the US if you choose to stay, and what may be your best course of action if you choose to go. But at the end of the day, you always got to follow your intuition and you always have to connect to the divine. One of the things that I've been teaching people for well over a decade is how to have a relationship with God, the one true living creator. And I don't get caught up in names so much because people will get caught up in that and then it becomes this issue of semantics. I'm talking about the one true living creator that we are all connected to that created all of us. So some people call God Allah, some people call God Hashem, some people call it Goddess, Great Spirit, Creator. I'm talking about that one true living energy. It is really, really important. If you don't have a relationship with that energy, it's important this year to really build that relationship. And I know for some of you, you don't necessarily believe in God or believe in a God. I understand that. I get that. If you don't believe in God or you don't believe in a God, you need to believe in something bigger than yourself. You need to believe in something. It could be love. It could be your children. It could be your family. It could be your community. It could be your health. But you need to believe in something bigger than yourself that will motivate you to keep going. Because if you don't have something or someone to be accountable to, if you don't have a clear goal in mind, then every time something difficult happens, you're going to cave because you don't know what you're doing it all for. So just keep that in mind. I think I saw some familiar faces. I feel like I saw Penny just come in. Penny, I want to say hello to you. I want to say hello to Martha and Millie, figuring it out, Creature Comfort. Just so you all know, the chat is moving really, really fast. So if you type something in the chat and I don't happen to see it, you can just type it again because I am actually looking at the screen, but it's moving super, super fast. I think I saw Penny say, "Hi, how are you doing, Nicole?" I'm doing good overall, considering everything. I'm a bit tired. And I think that everybody is a little bit tired because specifically in the United States of America, I think that we've had so much coming at us in terms of news and media that it's been meant to exhaust us. I said this a while ago before everything happened. I said this. I think I want to say like the early part of January, that if you're going to watch the news, if you're going to consume that, you want to do it at intervals, and you want to sort of minimize it if you can. Right? Like, I'm not saying bury your head in the sand and be uninformed. You need to be informed about what's going on in your world. But there's a difference between being informed and constantly being locked to the screen. Those are two completely separate things. And if you're constantly locked to the screen, what it can do is it can make you feel helpless almost, but it can also drive up your anxiety. So I want to thank people. Somebody said they just followed me. I really appreciate that. If you do enjoy my videos, most of the videos that I create on TikTok are about psychic development, having a relationship with Creator, also human behavior, being able to discern, having healthy relationships. So if that is something that you want to get more of, and you want to get it from a psychic perspective, because I do it from the perspective of a psychic, medium, and intuitive, definitely subscribe to my TikTok, follow me, and also like the videos, share them, repost them. My particular account is not a monetized account. So as I'm doing this live, I'm not getting paid to be here, getting paid to be on the live. I'm here now. So one of the great ways that you can help creators like myself, especially those of us who might have, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 followers or so, is to follow us, but also to repost and like the videos, and also engage with the videos in the comment section, right? Even if it's just typing a heart, or even if it's just typing a few things, because that actually helps to move it up the algorithm. But also keep in mind that this app is changing. So I'm going to get into what I'm channeling tonight. But before I get into that, I do want to remind you guys, if you want to stay in connection with me, should this app change, go to NicoleBowman.biz, sign up for my newsletter. You can also go to my link tree. And in my link tree, I'm on a site called Gumroad. You can subscribe and sign up there as well. And you can also find me on YouTube. My YouTube is Live the Light. You can find me on Facebook under Nicole Bowman. You'll see me under Nicole Bowman, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. And I also have, if you are on Meta, I know everybody is not, and if you're not, don't worry about it. But if you are still on Meta, I do have a Facebook group. I have a Meta group called Live the Light, Personal Growth Through Spirituality. And that is a group where I share channeled messages. That is a group where I talk about what's going on in the world. Penny says, I have your YouTube. Thank you, Penny. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Yeah. I am playing it by ear with this app. I do like the live feature here, but I do notice that things about this app have changed. Even the live features have changed. So it is possible that as I continue to do lives, I might do more lives on YouTube. I'm playing it by ear. I'm just doing what I'm led to do right now. But as long as we have this app, I think that the beauty of this app, at least the beauty of that first algorithm is that it really connected us to like-minded souls and like-minded people. I think that there are things about the app that are just changing to the degree that I may not continue it though. So let's go ahead and get to things at hand. Okay. So I was connecting and tapping into two sets of people in the United States of America specifically. The people that want to stay in the United States and the people that want to leave. I want to start first with the people who want to stay. Now, I've been talking about this for about 5 or 6 years. Just to be clear, I've been telling everybody you need to grow your own food, you need to stock up on food, and you need to live below your means. And usually when I get predictions, most of the things that I see happening don't happen for years, right? So I might get a prediction of something and it'll be 4 or 5 years later that it actually occurs. So these predictions that I saw a few years ago are starting to happen now. You still have time to stock up, right? Don't panic buy. But what I do sense and feel is make sure you get enough water. And if you do bottled water, after you're done with the bottled water, fill it up with tap water, right? Because in certain places, especially for those of you who might be in warmer climates, especially places like Louisiana, places like Florida, places basically that are prone to flooding is what I'm trying to say. These tropical climates that can be prone to flooding. Sometimes we have issues where the water gets shut off. When I lived in Puerto Rico, we went through that all the time. And in Florida sometimes, after the hurricanes. Make sure that you have water. If you have bottled water, most bottled water can last for about 6 months. It's about 6 months, and then after that, you got to chuck it. So, have your bottled water, but once you're done with that water, fill it up with tap water and put it to the side. And that water can be used for cleaning. It can be used for flushing toilets. It can just be used for different things, especially if you're in a flood zone. The other thing too, you need to stock up on dry goods, rice, beans, that type of stuff. Rice and beans will last you forever. Like, I know people say rice and beans is a struggle meal, but for me, rice and beans is my comfort food. It's my comfort meal, because you can zhuzh it up with whatever. You can add meat, you can add more veg, you can add things that you want. And if that's all that you can afford, that's all that you can afford, right? So start stocking up on those sorts of things now. You also need to be getting batteries. And I got this from Antonio Moore. He is an attorney. He I thought this is so genius. One of the things that he was talking about with power is he said, get those glow sticks. I don't know how many of you used to go clubbing or used to go to like these summer festivals, but those glow sticks that you would break and you would like dance with them. You can use those to light your home in a case of an emergency. I use those during the hurricanes. They're called Lumi sticks, and you just break them and then you have light. And if you have ones that like have a hook on them, you can hang them different places. I would get a radio. Make sure you have a radio. When I was in Puerto Rico, I had one that I could use a crank handle with, to make it turn when the battery died down. Make sure that you have extra chargers for your devices. Tea light candles will save your life. Karen says, what's happening is a blackout coming. Well, I will tell you, I had a vision. It was a number of years ago, and I saw this specifically in the United States of America. I did see blackouts. And it's still like not super clear to me how that's going to happen. But the way that Spirit was making me feel about it is they were showing something like with a power grid. Right. And so this was not just like one part of the United States. It felt like it would start at one part and might go to different parts. Right. Like, so there would be something with a power grid that would go out or go down. I'm not technologically savvy, so I cannot tell you how those power grids and things work. I just know that that's what I saw. And when I saw it around, I want to say 2020 or 2021, somewhere around there. So I was thinking at the time that it would happen then, but it never did. So I thought, okay, well, maybe that was maybe I was off. Maybe I was wrong about that. But now, because of what everything is happening, I'm kind of feeling that people just need to be aware and be prepared. Penny says, what do you think about devices that are powered by solar? Yeah, you should definitely get those. When I lived in Puerto Rico, I had a radio that was, I had radios and chargers that were solar powered. So you can put them out in the sun, and then you can use the power from the sun to power your device. Solar powered chargers are where it is at. And I would say get a crank radio and get an AM FM radio, because, if things go down, and we've already kind of seen this, though. We've seen this with the fires in California, right? Where they've had no power, they've had no water. We've seen this in the Carolinas where they've had no power, they've had no water. So what I was seeing in terms of these blackouts, I was thinking a few years ago when I saw it that it was going to happen right then. It didn't start happening until right now, but I feel like there is more of this to come. So just be careful and be prepared. It's not about being scared, and it's not about being, paranoid. You just have to be prepared, because the reality of the situation is, and I said this on my page earlier here on TikTok, time on this planet is finite. None of us knows exactly how much time we have in these bodies, in this land, in this spirit, right? So it's so important to make the most of the time that you have, and it's important to be prepared, and it's important to have a connection with Creator. This is why I stress listening to your intuition, because when you listen to the inner voice, when you listen to the gut instinct, it will tell you where to go, right? Like, I can't tell you exactly every single thing to do. As a psychic medium and intuitive, I can share what I sense will be most beneficial for you. But at the end of the day, you also have to listen to your inner guidance and follow your path, right? Because I can't live your life for you. And that's the thing. Spiritual workers, we can't live your life for you. We can tell you what we see coming. We can tell you what's on the path, but we can't force you to do it. But for those of you who are staying in the United States, it's going to be a challenging time. I've been saying this for a few years. I've been seeing this. And when I was looking at the contests that we had in the United States, it's interesting because Spirit was kind of showing it as like a 50-50 toss up, but they were making me feel that either way, there were going to be hard times economically. And what they were saying is you need to prepare. It's not about us burying our heads in the sand. It's not about us panicking. And just to be clear, when I got up today, just to let you guys know, like having a human moment, I was just not in a good place today. I was really, really down emotionally. You know, like everybody, I'm a human being. I have things going on in my life. I'm looking out at what's happening in the collective, and there's a sadness there. There's an absolute sadness and there's a despair, you know, and so I was feeling all of that. It was very, very heavy. But I got myself up. I worked through it, prayed through it, cried through it, had a coffee, you know, and just picked myself up and got through my day. But it was not easy. Penny says, me too. Yeah. Yeah. If you're sensitive to energy, if you're empathetic, if you're psychic, if you're a healer, you know, if you are part of community, especially, I want to talk a little bit about people even that work like in the beauty industry, you know, people that cut people's hair or that beautify folk, people that might work in entertainment, even people that work in hospitality, specifically people that cook for others, chefs, cooks, things of that nature. We're all very sensitive people. We're very sensitive people, and we put a lot of love into what we do. And we could feel the pain and we could feel the joy. We could feel all of these things that folk are going through. So if you're going to stay in the United States, you just got to prepare. Live below your means, definitely. I've said this over and over again, and I think I'm just going to keep hammering it down. You need to have masks. Even if you're not wearing them right now, even if you don't think you need them right now, you need to have masks. If you do nothing else after you get off of this live, go and order masks, have them delivered to you or go out to the store and get them, but you need to have them at your disposal. You need to have them because I've been seeing this for a while and I've been telling my private clients this. I feel like we may have something that's similar to C-19 from 2020. And if you have masks and if you have plenty of food and you could stay at home, you're going to be more prepared. It's not about fear mongering. It's just about being prepared. The purpose of psychic work is to be able to tell the future sufficiently so that you can actually live a good life. Psychic work is not going to protect you from everything. You know, a lot of times people think that, oh, if I get a reading, it'll protect me from pain and suffering and all this sorrow. It might help you to sidestep certain things. But what is meant for you is ultimately going to happen because it's for your soul's growth and it's for your soul's evolution. However, we can look at the pathway, and sometimes there are things that can be changed. The hurricane in Florida and a few months ago, myself and many other spiritual workers prayed to lessen that storm. And it was projected to hit Florida in a much more catastrophic way than it did. Now, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. It did indeed happen. And unfortunately, in the Carolinas, that's the area where it was most devastating. And people are still trying to rebuild. But there were those of us that were praying to lessen that storm, to make it be less fatal, if that makes sense. And we were focusing also on human life. We were focusing on trying to save as many human lives as possible and lives of animals as possible. So that's what I wanted to say about if you're going to stay. The other final thing for people that are going to stay in the United States, if you're going to stay in the United States and you're not going to leave the country, you need to get involved on the local level. You need to speak with your local representatives, your local community, people that you see face to face on a regular basis. That's who you need to be talking to. I'm not saying that the federal level doesn't have its importance, but right now they are often whatever land they're in their minds. On the local level is where you're going to be able to be most effective. Okay, where you're most effective. I'm going to move on to the people who are going to move. But before I do, does anybody have any questions? Like for those of you who are living in the United States and have made the decision to stay, do you have any questions? Is there anything popping up for you that you want me to sort of tap into for the collective? I'm just going to look in the chat room. I'm going to give it a second to go because I know it moves kind of quick. Sorry, guys. I just had a notification on my phone. Okay, so I'm not seeing anybody saying anything. If it comes up, like, that you want to talk about it, maybe we'll come back to it. We'll be here a little while longer anyway. For people who are leaving the United States, and I know a bit about this because I've lived abroad. I lived in Italy for a period of time, went there to study Italian, and I've also traveled all over the world. I've lived in Morocco. So I know a bit about the visa process. I know a bit about living in other countries, and I also know a bit about acclimating to other countries. I want to share something with the people who are planning to leave. And this is not a psychic thing, just to be clear. And guys, let me know. It feels like, okay, it's working now. I feel like I glitched for a second. So here's the thing. Before you move to another country, you need to research that country. You need to know what their politics are like. You need to know their attitudes towards women. You need to know what their politics are like. You need to know their attitudes towards women, minorities, LGBTQ folk. There are a lot of places that have, around the world, depending upon where you go, that are a lot more conservative and patriarchal than you think they are. So what I mean by that is, like, there's certain places, if you get into arguments in public or you scream at people in public, you could be arrested. There are places where, like I lived in Morocco, for example, and I have to say Morocco, Fez, Morocco, a very, very conservative, modern part of, conservative part of Morocco. Very conservative, much more so than part of Morocco. Very conservative, much more so than Casablanca, which is along the sea, much more conservative than Marrakesh, which is, it's a tourist area. Fez was just a regular class. I lived in a regular middle class neighborhood in Fez, Morocco, and I absolutely loved it. I was there for the summer, number of years in Fez, Morocco, and I absolutely loved it. I was there for the summer, number of years ago, for about 3 months. And sorry, you guys, I feel like my thing is glitching. So hopefully you can hear me. But I say all that to say that in Morocco, the men and women both adhere to modesty. Modesty in your dress and modesty in how you carry yourself. So when in Fez, this would be zipped all the way up here. You wouldn't see, my wrists. You wouldn't see any of that. And I had to ask myself, oh, the feed keeps freezing. Can you guys hear me now? Can you see it now? It was okay. I think it's okay now. Give me 1 second. So I say all of that to say, though, that if I were to stay in Morocco, I would have to continue with the modesty culture. You could wear your hair down if you want to, certainly, but depending upon where you're at, it might attract more attention. So I'm just using that as an example. I'm just simply saying sometimes people think that they're going to move. An example. I'm just simply saying sometimes people think that they're going to move somewhere without understanding the culture and without understanding the customs. And then when you get there, you have a culture shock. And even if you go to a place and you know the language, for example, there's still a different culture, there's still different customs. So you just want to keep that in mind. I feel like it's like glitching. I might go out and come back. Can somebody type in the comments for me if you can see me, hear me, etc.? So everybody says so far. Yeah, yeah. So for the people who are choosing to leave the United States, I want to teach you how to do something called map scrying. Scrying is where you typically look at a reflective surface, like a mirror, or into a liquid, like a pool of water, and you ask spirit to give you visions and information about what's going on. Oh, so Penny says, I can see you, but it is just off and on, it freezes. Yeah, I'll try to see how we're doing. I think maybe it is like, I don't know if it's my internet connection. I don't think it is, but as I said before, this app is changing. And what I'm noticing is like the glitches in this app, it's over and over again. You know what I mean? There's a lot of glitches. So basically, scrying is where you look into a reflective surface and you ask spirit to give you answers about something in your life. Map scrying is when you open up a map and you look at the map and you ask spirit to show you where in the world you need to be. So if you have been thinking that you need to leave or you think you need to move, I recommend you get either a paper map or you open up a map on your computer, because the computer is a screen as well, right? It's a reflective surface. And you look at the screen and you ask, Great Spirit, where is the best place for me to be in the world this year? And just be really silent, get really, really quiet, and pay attention to where your eye gravitates towards. Because there's typically going to be a specific place. For some of you, you may just know, I'm supposed to stay right where I'm at. But I'm speaking specifically about those of you who get a strong sense and impression that you need to move, but you don't know where. Pay attention to where you gravitate towards. And the place that you gravitate towards, you need to start researching that country. Research it, look at the customs, look at different things, because you just might find that that's somewhere you can move to. You know, many years ago, I had never even thought about living in Italy. And at the time, I was a performer, and I went overseas and I was doing shows, mainly performing in the Balkans. So all through Croatia, Slovenia, different places. And then the last stop on the tour was Italy. And I don't even remember Italy making that big of an impression on me at the time. I don't. But I do remember when I came back to the United States, within about 2 or 3 years, I started thinking about Italy a lot. It kept coming into my mind over and over and over again. And at the time I was living in New Orleans, and I was going to take the summer off from readings because I was reading a lot. Oh, someone says they just followed me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Penny says to keep us from talking. I agree with this. I feel like that's what it is. And even like, so some of you, I'm going to get to this in a second. Okay. So like, I haven't lost my train of thought. There are some of you that I've done lives with before the change, right? When we had the old version of this app. And even, do you notice the resolution, all the stuff in my face? Do you like, because when I'm looking at it, even like I notice, even, I don't know if it's like the pixels, the clarity, there is not as much clarity in my face. There's not as much clarity. There's not as much definition, I noticed that. So anyway, to speak a little bit about this. So I kept thinking about Italy, and something told me to go. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Penny. You're beautiful as well. Yeah, something told me to go to Italy, right? So I decided to go for the summer, and I went for the summer, and initially I was in Milan, and I roomed with a couple of people. They were medical students there. We roomed together, and then I decided I wanted to travel throughout northern and central Italy. So I went to Milan, I went to Padova, I went to Trieste, I went to Turin, which is known for its witchcraft. I went to Turin. And then finally I settled on Florence, Italy. And as soon as I got to Florence, I fell in love. It was alive. The spirit world in Florence was so alive. I felt so connected to it. And even to this day, it's not to say that I don't have Friends in Florence. I do. I have so many friends in Italy, that are still living there. But I also felt such a connection to the spirit world in Italy and such a connection to the land. And I really went there based off of a hunch. And what ended up happening is I got to the point where I was dividing my time. So half the year I'd be in Italy, half the year I'd be in the States. And then one year I decided that I was going to apply for a visa and go to Italy and study Italian. And that's what I did. And wouldn't you know it, I studied through that year. And then towards the end of that year, I came back to the United States and the panorama happened. And so when the panorama happened, I wasn't able to go back. But all of those things were in divine timing. Everything that happened, everything I was supposed to experience, I did for the time that I did. And Spirit brought me back safely to the United States before everything shook down. So that's why I'm saying if you listen to your intuition and you listen to your gut instincts, it will tell you and it will show you exactly where you need to be. So that's what I wanted to share. I think we have a little bit more time left. If there is anybody who would like a reading, I will do. I'm not going to do a lot of readings tonight individually, also because the screen is glitching. So I don't know how much longer we'll have it with the screen moving. But if there is anybody who would like a reading by donation, I'm happy to do them by donation tonight. And the way that I do them is you can just go to my link tree, so just go to the link in my bio here on TikTok and click my link tree, and you'll see buy me a coffee on the link tree. It's just buy me a coffee, and just type in the amount that you feel led to give, and then just type your question in the comments. But if you do actually prefer like more of a one-to-one reading, a more full-length session, you can go to my website. My website is NicoleBowman.biz. And I have appointment readings normally Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. But then I also have immediate sessions as well. But just to be clear, the immediate sessions are per minute. They're a little bit more because they're done immediately. There's no waiting time. And I will probably be doing some immediate sessions tonight on Click for Advisor. So if you go to my link tree, you'll see the immediate sessions. You can just click on, you can request a callback if you want to do that too. And I know I'm like overloading you guys with a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to get all the information out before this cuts off again. So, immediate sessions for the month of January, they're per minute sessions. So I am doing 5 minutes and then you get 5 minutes free. And just to be clear, I'm a very quick reader. I don't believe in dragging out time. So I just say it as it is, share it as it is. And then if you want to extend time, you can. But I am not a proponent of like keeping people on the phone forever because I just don't think that's necessary. Oh, Ocean Breeze said they just follow me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. I think we have a lot of people in the room. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like we have like 3,000 people, 2,000 people in the room. Okay. So follow me and get the likes up on the. I never asked people to do that, but I thought about that. And for as long as we have this app, the other reason why too is that eventually this app is going to change again. And you don't have to be psychic to know that. But I'm just saying it's going to change again. And it's already changing to the point where we're having more difficulty connecting with those people that we're a vibrational match to. So if you follow me here, and then you also go to NicoleBowman.biz and connect to my newsletter, or follow me on Linktree, or my other site, which is Gumroad. If you follow me there, all of that is in my Linktree on my bio here on TikTok. That is how we can stay in connection. And just to be clear, like I'm not one of those people that inundate you with messages, but I do share messages as I feel led to. Thank you so much for just following me, Wildflower. I appreciate you. And Wildflower, thank you so much as well for your support. Everybody who has come in and supported, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that so much. So I want to talk about two final things. And then I think with that, we'll close it because the site is a bit glitchy. The new energy is here. Many of you in this live have been doing your spiritual work for a long time. And I'm talking to somebody specific. And I'm going to try not to cry because I feel like last time I was on the live, I cried a lot. But it's more just because I'm feeling what Spirit has for us and wants for us, and it's really good. There are those of you who are sensitive and born knowing, and you came from families where there was a lot of trauma. And you spent a fair amount of your life healing and clearing that trauma. You spent a fair amount of your life healing and clearing generational trauma and curses and hexes and vexes and all of those things. And in spite of you doing all of that, and in spite of you possibly speaking out about it, you weren't believed and you weren't honored and you weren't respected. I get it. And I know for some of you also, some of you maybe got into some really negative relationships and some really difficult times where you're questioning like your own intuition, you're questioning your own sanity, you're questioning your own worth because of things that have happened, some of which you feel like you've allowed, some of which you feel like have been done to you or forced upon you. And you might have been asking yourself, what is the point of all of this? It was a refining process. Before you incarnated here, you agreed to be the cycle breaker in your family. But not just a cycle breaker in your family, the cycle breaker in your community. Because you have to understand that what's going on specifically in the United States of America, but around the world, we're in a mass awakening. So everybody that is alive at this time, or everybody that is being born at this time, we agreed to meet on planet Earth at this point in order to uplift the planet. And before we could do the work of uplifting the planet, we had to heal our families. So it was about healing the family line. Understand that many of you have laid the foundation for your family of origin to heal. It is now up to them if they want to pick up that torch and do the work. A lot of them are not going to. There are a lot of people that are choosing more of a three-dimensional path. The beauty of that, though, is that everybody on planet Earth is here to evolve. So some of us, it'll be faster, some of us, it'll be slower, but we are all eventually going to evolve. We're all going to evolve. A lot of you here in this live, you have opted to evolve on an accelerated timeline. So when you opt to evolve on an accelerated timeline, many different things come at you fast in this thing called life, all at once. You know, when I think about myself, I feel like I've been like every social economic bracket you could think of. I've been at every single level and back again. And Spirit often says, where you've been, you will be again. And the point of that too, especially with those of you who are healers, you might be asking, why have I gone through so much struggle? Because Spirit does not want you to lose the common touch. In order to be able to help people, you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And that includes people from many different walks of life. So this is why, arguably, in a lifetime, you as a healer might go through many different things, different relationships, different socioeconomic backgrounds, times of hardship, times of feast, times where things are not so great, and everything in between. It allows you to be empathetic enough to relate to just about anybody. And that is where you don't lose the common touch, because you can relate to anybody. So you could wear the finest things and the finest clothes and be okay. And you could be in a greasy spoon diner and be okay. Right? It's both. Set the prayer and intention every day that you ask for the highest timeline in your life. Like basically say, Divine Creator, I ask for the highest timeline of my existence in this lifetime. Help me to live out my highest potential. But when you pray that prayer, understand that certain people and experiences are going to fall away. If they cannot meet or match the energy, they're going to fall. So if you're not prepared for the fall, if you're not prepared for the breakaway, don't pray that prayer. But if you are ready for the highest expression of what you can be in this lifetime, pray that prayer. Penny says, when I realized the awakening had started, I became overjoyed and was ready to jump in head first. Yeah, the awakening is here. The awakening is here. And what's interesting is that part of that awakening started in the Middle East and Palestine. because the Palestinian people, Palestine is freeing us. They're freeing us. Palestine cracked open that door, and then the United States and everything else is happening now, just, well, it's wide open, child. Like, so you don't, at this point, you don't have to guess how people feel, because they're going to tell you. You know. You don't have to guess where somebody is vibrating, because they don't have to mask it anymore. You're going to know. Exactly. People are fed up, because the reality is that most folk are not interested in having dominion over other people. Most people just want to live a good life. And the way that a small, and this is a small group of people, by the way, but a small group of greedy, power hungry people is maneuvering is negatively affecting the entire planet. But we, the people, are saying this can't stand anymore. And so there are those of us that will stay in our country of origin, and we will fight and we will rebuild. And then there are those of us who will move to other places and we will rebuild there. But this is the thing. Even if you leave the United States, what is happening here is happening virtually everywhere in some capacity. And I'm telling you this because I have lived all over the world. I've lived so many different places. So if you think that you're going to leave the United States and you're going to run away, for example, and be safe somewhere else, that's not exactly true. Also, you have to remember there's a culture, there's a people, there's a land that was there before you got there. So we also have to respect the people that are already there. And everything we're hearing about gentrification, everything we're hearing about prices being sky high, people not being able to afford to live. See, what's happening is all of that was happening outside of the United States first. Now we in the United States are starting to feel what everybody else went through. We really are interconnected. And in the United States of America, and I say this as a Black person who descended from slaves and slave masters and indigenous folk, in the United States of America, Black people, we typically feel that economic pressure before any other group. It's typically Black Americans specifically, those of us who descended from slaves, because we never received reparations, we never received our due. Even affirmative action was taken away from us and was given to white women. So, this is not about making enemies of people, just to be clear, but this is just a historical lesson and message. Because of that, we often are the people that don't have as much disposable income. We typically don't have as much wealth. And so whenever the United States of America goes through some sort of a crisis or a recession, we tend to feel it first. For example, with Target, they're getting rid of their diversity, equity, and inclusion. And a lot of the diversity and equity and inclusion people that have brands at Target were Black women and other Black creators. This is the other thing, too. When it comes to white supremacy, when it comes to prejudice, when it comes to racism, white supremacy eats everything. If you are not straight, white, Christian, and male, it eats everything. And it'll even eat you, because it's about sameness. It's not about difference. It's not about diversity. It's not about celebrating our colors. And see, that's what people don't understand. They seem to think that, oh, well, it's not going to happen to me or my family. No. White supremacy is parasitic. It can't exist on its own. And so Spirit often called white supremacy the false light. And what they meant by that is it is not a light that can shine on its own. It needs to steal the light of other people. So it'll just make its way up the ladder. First, it'll be Black people. Then it'll be indigenous. Then it'll be women. Then it'll be LGBTQ folk. Then it'll be white women. Then it'll be gay white men. Then it'll be, and it just keeps finding people to devour. And if you keep adhering to this idea of sameness, if you keep adhering to that and you don't allow your colors and your diversity to flow, you're going to break down. Like this world, creator loves color. Look at the flowers, look at the trees, look at all the different animals, look at all of it. The diversity is beautiful. And think about this. Everything that we need to live is on this planet. We have fruit trees, we have plants that can heal our bodies, we have teas, we have all of these things the creator put here for us. But it's just, unfortunately, a small group of people who are not connected to God's source and want to dominate everything, right? Hey, everybody. Oh, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So yes, but yes, you know, but white supremacy is, I really feel like it's in its death rattle. I think that white supremacy is having a good fight, but we as the people are starting to understand that we are stronger together. What I absolutely love this. I love my Latino brothers and sisters who are part Taino. For those of you who don't know what Taino is, are the indigenous folk, primarily throughout the Caribbean. So they were in Puerto Rico, they were in the Dominican Republic. The Tainos lived throughout those islands. And a lot of my Latino brothers and sisters who speak Spanish, because a lot of them Spanish is the first language, are learning the Taino language because it's about taking back what was stolen. Taking back what was stolen. This is why, Bad Bunny's album, Debí tirar más fotos, that's why, sorry guys, Spanish is my second language, so sometimes my pronunciation is a little, I'm sorry. Lo siento, pero that's my Spanish, mi español. So, but I say all this to say, the reason why his album is so prolific is because it's talking about what was stolen. But what it also taps into with a lot of the songs on the album is joy. I had such a hard time listening to it initially because I was thinking about the gentrification in Puerto Rico, which makes me so sad. And I was thinking even like in my own life, here more stateside, the gentrification I've seen in places that I love, specifically, I'm originally from the Midwest, from Detroit, Michigan. And even though the city has come back in amazing ways, there's a lot of gentrification. So I understand that and I align with what he's saying. But there were also so many beautiful songs about falling in love, about going to the club, about partying, about having a good time, about just enjoying yourself. It's a very well-rounded album. If you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend you do. When I lived in Puerto Rico, initially, I didn't really understand Bad Bunny because the Spanish that I'm used to is Cuban Spanish and Mexican Spanish. Cuban Spanish and Mexican Spanish, I can understand. Puerto Rican Spanish was difficult for me to understand because in any Spanish, like there's a lot of different colloquial phrases and sayings and things like that. But in Puerto Rican Spanish, there's a lot more colloquial phrases. And so because of that, with Bad Bunny's music, I didn't always understand everything. And after a time of living in Puerto Rico, I was asking this girl, I was like, well, why do you love his music? And she was saying, it just really expresses my culture, my family, and it's in a language that I speak. Like he speaks like me, and I really feel represented by him. And when she expressed it to me that way, I absolutely got it because it was like, yes, he took a photo of you, because when I listen to Stevie Wonder, for example, I really feel like he's speaking to my soul. When I listen to Celia Cruz, I know she's speaking to me. She's speaking to me. When I listen to, I would even say even like Fiona Apple. When I was growing up listening to her, we're not necessarily the same background or culture, but there are things about her mind and how it works. I relate to her. I was like, oh, she's speaking to me. But Celia Cruz, for me, is always like speaking to me and representing Black women. And I love that. Um, so, you guys, I think that I am going to get out of here. Before I go, though, is there anything that anybody wants to share? I feel like I went off on a tangent. I was in my own mind I was like off in my own space for a second. So I want to share something. And I want to share this. And I'm sorry, you guys, every time I get on a live, my note, like I get a little something with my nose. So I'm sorry if that bothers people. I was listening to a woman here on TikTok. Her name is Aisha Danielle, and she's a Christian woman. And she had a woman on her show, and I was listening to it right before. Oh, thank you, Penny. Thank you. I was listening to it right before I got on the live with you guys. So anyway, I'm just going to like paraphrase it a little bit, summarize it. In the video, Aisha Danielle was interviewing this woman who was a pastor's wife. And this woman didn't realize that behind the scenes, this pastor was really saying all sorts of negative things about her to ostracize her from the congregation so that she wouldn't feel like she had a family. She wouldn't feel like she had a group of people that could support her. Anyway, she finds out later because people are like, oh, we're going to be so sad to see you go and what's going on. She finds out he was basically saying all of these negative things behind her back. I say all of that to say that Spirit was making me tap into some people in the room that I feel like are going through something similar. What I mean is you've been interacting with a person or groups of people that have been rude to you or cold to you or distant with you, and you don't know why. And the reason why Spirit is saying is because things have been said behind your back that you're not aware of that has colored their perception of you. And so the guidance on that, though, is don't do anything because everything will actually kind of come out in the wash is what Spirit is making me feel. They're saying it will come out in the wash, but it's people around you who have either been really just fabricating lies or taking a piece of truth, a modicum of truth, and then embellishing it and making it the worst thing imaginable when it's really not that big of a deal. That's what's going on. So if you're ever in somebody's presence and they're just really nasty to you for no reason, but they're connected to somebody else you know, it is because that person or group of people has been saying negative things about you to them. And so they already have an impression of you. And with people like that, I wouldn't even worry about it. Because if they're that impressionable that they can't think for themselves, that they can't tap into their intuition, that they can't question, why are you telling me this about her? Or why are you telling me this about him? Understand that this is a message for somebody. If people have a negative perception of you without even knowing you, they never liked you to begin with. And they can't think for themselves. They're a follower. And in this time, you need to be a leader. You need to stand alone, and, don't go with the crowd. So Penny says, been there, done that. Me too, haven't I? Well, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. For readings and more, you can find me at NicoleBowman.biz. You can also click on my bio in TikTok. Click on my link tree. If you would like to schedule a reading, all of my reading information is there as well. And also, if you enjoyed this live and you would like to honor me with a donation, you can also do that through my link tree. It just says buy me a coffee, type in whatever amount you feel comfortable with. And I really appreciate you all. But because everything is glitching, I think we should stop here. But hopefully be able to come back for another live. And I see we've got about like 5,000 people in the room. Please follow my page. Please follow. And for all of you who became followers tonight and went and followed my page, I appreciate you. For those of you who've returned, Penny, Enjoying Positive Mental Health, all of the people who have left some really, really positive messages, Candy, Michelle, Kelly, you guys have a wonderful evening. And I think we're there. So I'm gonna turn it off now.